What's up, y'all? Alright, as I'm on my way to the subway, it's high time for another chapter of Annals of English learners. One thing that's pretty salient for anyone who's ever taught ESL is, and you might have noticed this, especially if you're teaching ESL to Spanish speakers, is the fact that sometimes non-native English will bear a striking resemblance to what some linguists call African American vernacular English. And this is one of these examples of this phenomenon. And it goes like this. Sometimes a student will want to say something like they had to deal with their problems, and he will say, or she will say, they have to deal with the problems. For real, that's what they will say. Now, you're hearing that and you're thinking, you know, that kind of reminds you of African American vernacular English. Among other dialects that exhibit this feature. Now, in AAVE, this is due to a sound change. But in non-native English, it really isn't. It's due to something. Well, it is a sound change, but it's not the kind of sound change that happens in AAVE. Now, this is what happens. And in order to understand this, you have to kind of understand the concept of spelling pronunciation. People who learn to read and write English and are native speakers of English, by the time they learn to read and write, they already know how to speak. But people who are learning the language as non-natives, they're learning to speak as they're learning to read and write. And a lot of words that they come across them in spelling first, before they know how to pronounce them. So there's a lot of spelling pronunciations involved in this. Like, for example, pronouncing the L in half, and so on and so forth. So what happens? Non-native speakers are largely unaware of the fact that the possessive pronoun there is supposed to sound exactly like the word there, which is, an adverb, and exactly like, there has two forms, there and there. So you can say their problems or their problems, just like you say, it's over there, or you can also say it's over there. And it's really, there's two ways to say it. And this is the reason, of course, why native speakers of English mix up the spellings there as in there as in their problems, and they're coming over later as in they apostrophe R-E. But non-native speakers have no idea that these words are supposed to sound the same. So even though they learn the pronunciation of there as in there pretty quick, they are still laboring under the impression that the possessive pronoun there is supposed to sound something like their or their. And of course they find this very difficult to pronounce, so they simplify it by dropping the R. And so they say things like, I can't understand the problem. So what I do when I try to correct this is that, something that I've thought of, a little bit of an exercise, would be showing them a text that was written by a native speaker and that had these kinds of mix-ups and misspellings of the words there as in there as in their problem, and there as in they're coming over, and that would kind of set them on the right path. What I've been doing so far is to just write down, the word there as in their problems, and there as in over there, and then I tell them that they are supposed to be pronounced the same, exactly the same, regardless of the spelling. And then they kind of say, oh, and hopefully they incorporate the habit over time. Of course, if you're a student, remember, explanations are fine and they help, but you're also going to need to listen to the language a lot in order for your brain to kind of get the feeling that these explanations are actually correct and that they fit the language as it is and as it is really spoken. So pay attention to this and also listen. And if you're a teacher, hey, good luck. Talk to you guys later.